We'll be back after this.
These are our first Global Beyond Q show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Chaplitz, and Pastor Randy Rodney. We will discuss politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. There are a few issues and questions and talking points. Is there a clash between politics and the gospel? Does the church in Dominica play any role in preserving democracy? Should pastors and priests be involved in politics? Are some political leaders preying on religion, or are these leaders preying on the poor? Is religion being used as an opium of the people or as an oppressor of the people? Have religious events been poisoned by the lust for power and money? Have politicians pivoted to scripture and religious ceremonies to influence and pacify voters? Is there an exchange between government and churches in shaping the moral fiber of the nation? Have politicians and government hijacked religious ceremonies and festivities for political gain? Can gospel music festivals be organized by governments be genuine economic drivers for Dominica? Why should a government organize a gospel festival free of charge and yet not disclose the source of the financing and the proceeds generated from the event? Is the separation of church and state a valid proposition? Does the church have a role to play in justice and peace? Can peace exist without justice? What about human rights and the dignity of human beings? So we look forward to the contributions of Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Chaplin, Pastor Randy Rodney, and the callers and viewers on the radio, on Facebook and on YouTube, on our topic, politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. So join us for more Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the Global Beyond. Freedom has to. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Too long we have certain persons just taken from the country, bleeding the country, all about self at the expense of the country.
The United Progressive Party will be exploring the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Fokole Resource Center, 7 p.m.
We are calling on all Dominicans, those of you who are whatever right you, because our country should take center stage, should be focused in our mind as to its development and further development as we move towards the future.
Help build a team that will unite.
Our vision is to build Dominica as the nature island of the Caribbean, to develop a niche, to make Dominica the food basket.
The writing is on the wall, and Dominicans must attend to our business. It is high time, it is past time, and so Dominicans, now is the time for us to put those little petty, negative, trivialities things aside, and let us focus on country, and by all stretch of the imagination, we really realize our goals.
Fokole Resource Center, Tuesday, February 3rd. Be there, united for progress. It's 1:22 in the afternoon, of course. This afternoon, I'm going to get an original perspective, international perspective from Mr. Crispin Gregor, who's been observing just what is going on there in the region, the U.S., quote, Cuba. Some new developments as we learned this morning. Our students might not be able to go to Cuba to study anymore. From what I gather, the emphasis was in medical students. So it appears that the pressure is tightening on this regional governments. We were told by the St. Lucian Prime Minister as he attended the regional international summit. But on the telephone with me is a former UN ambassador, Mr. Crispin Gregoire, to help put in perspective this geopolitics of the world. And the Caribbean countries, including Dominica, is caught right in the center. Mr. Gregoire, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good afternoon to you, Matt. Good afternoon to your listeners.
Interesting developments, Mr. Gregoire. Interesting developments.
Lots of developments, Matt. Lots of developments in our region. And gives me concern. Matt, you might remember we've been covering the story for a few months now, right?
Yes,
since maybe October.
Yes, we've been monitoring it for a while.
And Matt, was my analysis on point?
Yes, 98% of it was.
Well, I told you, and there's more to come, Matt. We are in a very unpredictable moment, not knowing what to expect on a daily basis. Now, I know that Dominica is now enmeshed in pre-carnival fever, but while all of that is going on, things are happening that's affecting our countries and our country in particular, Dominica. Matt, I can tell you, never have I seen Dominica take a center full focus of the United States presidency. Matt, I hasten to say that a lot of things that are happening now, we had seen that as far back as 2019. Nobody had expected that Mr. Maduro would have been picked up and now sitting in a jail not too far from where I am, Matt. It's just that I can't go down to see my friend, Mr. Maduro. But what we are seeing, Matt, with Mr. Maduro and Venezuela kind of on a pedestal, being manipulated by President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio, we now see the axis shifting towards Cuba, and that's very, very worrying, Matt. I think I'm beginning to see the reasoning for all of this heavy American military presence in the Caribbean. And that what I surmise as far back as September is that Cuba could be in the crosshairs of the Trump administration. That the Trump administration might feel emboldened to invade Cuba. And that is a very frightening prospect for peace and security in the Caribbean.
Why do you think they feel so emboldened to invade Cuba?
Well, Matt, they have never made any bones about it that the government in Cuba is illegitimate as far as they're concerned. And they have had an embargo on Cuba since 1959 when the revolution happened. I believe that the American administration thinks.
But before you go on, because somebody asked a very interesting question this morning, Mr. Gregoire. You know, why the embargo over 50 years? Why that embargo was put on Cuba?
Well, it was to strangle Cuba so the revolution would collapse. That's just very simple, Matt.
Okay. They
figured that if they block trade with Cuba, if they make it very difficult for Cuba to receive, to trade, and to get investment, that the revolution would have collapsed. that was the wrong assumption, and it has failed over the years. But I think that given the current global context, the world is changing very, very quickly, Matt. It's changing from the United States being the only superpower after the end of the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. That now we are seeing that China and Russia have now become major powers. Of course, Russia was a major power, but after the Soviet Union collapsed, they lost a lot of influence in Eastern Europe. They are trying to rebuild that, and Ukraine is an example of that. But we basically have three major powers in the world: United States, People's Republic of China, and the Russian Federation. And what we are seeing is that each of these powers are now clamping down on their region. The region that's closest to them, they are now making sure that they put their stamp there, and nobody else, no other power will come in those domains to challenge them. And that we're seeing that happening at a speed that we never foresaw 80 years after World War II. So we are at this point where the world is changing. America is no longer the power it used to be. Sadly for the United States, they have become, over the last 30 years, the world's largest, most indebted nation on earth. They have a debt of almost $40 trillion. So that has many negative implications for the United States. So it is really, we are at this point where the whole global order is changing. America is beginning to pay attention to its backyard. And what is going on in its backyard is that their closest adversaries, China and Russia, they are active in their backyard. And they want to end that. They want to change that. They want to counter these countries. So as we pivot to Cuba, the first thing that they've done by cutting Venezuelan aid to Cuba, which is basically oil, they are really making it difficult for Cuba to have electricity and to power its cars. So oil cut off from Venezuela to Cuba. Then the Cubans turned to Mexico to help, and Mexico did do some shipments of oil. And then the Americans said to Mexico, if you continue to do that, we're going to put tariffs on you. So the Mexicans have halted their trade in oil to Cuba. So Cuba is now facing a huge crisis. And I think that Russia and Iran have promised to send oil to Cuba. But if there are American warships in Cuban waters, they might block Cuba from receiving any kind of oil. So, Mark, I think we got to put this in context that Cuba is on the fire, is now the next concern of the U.S. I should mention that the regional leaders, that's CARICOM leaders, are set to meet in St. Kitts from February 24th in a meeting to be chaired by the current chair of CARICOM, Prime Minister Terence Drew. He himself is a Cuban-trained doctor. He happens to be the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. And this, I believe, will be one of the most consequential conferences in recent years for CARICOM, because the government's under serious pressure from Washington. They are complaining about this pressure that they're getting to comply with a string of demands from the Trump administration. First, you have as early as October, or maybe even earlier, I believe it was June, when Secretary of State Rubio met with CARICOM leaders. He stressed the importance of ending the Cuban medical program.
The brigade, yes.
That was the first thing, Matt. The second thing that happened was that the U.S. ended USAID. They closed USAID. And all of the funded programs to the CARICOM region that USAID would have funded were now ended. Third, the U.S. put a demand on CARICOM states and the Dominican Republic to accept the U.S. deportees. And fourth, the U.S. has put immigrant and non-immigrant visa suspension. So neither can we get non-immigrant visas. These are temporary visas, B1, B2, student visas, and exchange visitor, exchange student visas called J1, and H1B visas. These are for people who have skills that will enable them to get a visa to work in the U.S., H1B. All of these type of visas are shorted, okay? Especially for two countries, Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda. Now, these countries have some really serious problems, Matt. I hate to tell the Dominican people that Dominica is really on the chopping block in Washington. There are a lot of things that is happening in Dominica that is of concern to Washington. One of them, Matt, is the democracy problem that Dominica has. Dominica, I mentioned that before, and that continues to be a concern in Washington, that Dominica has not been able to have a free and fair election since 2009. And Dominica did a so-called electoral reform that doesn't enjoy the consensus of all the political forces in Dominica. And Dominica's process that is on the way right now has some deep flaws. One of them is that new voters cannot register. How could that be? When the very law says that, when you get to 18, you can register. That whole confirmation process that's going on is deeply not effective. It's not realizing the new list that we're talking about. Dominica's finances of its CBI has a lot of questions of transparency and accountability. Dominica has given diplomatic passports and diplomatic appointments, not just passports, but also diplomatic appointments to hustlers and thieves. And people, and most concerning to Washington, is that a number of Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps people have Dominica passports. These are not small things, Matt. So these are part of the reasons that all of these sanctions are put on Dominica and Antigua. But I'll tell you, the Antiguan Prime Minister has a much shorter rap sheet than the Prime Minister of Dominica.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, remember, just by dint of time in office, we have a Prime Minister who's been in office for 20 years. Matt, over the 20 years you've been covering the government of Dominica, you've heard of countless things that have gone on that have not been acceptable behavior, especially overseas. The Dominican people, they don't see these things because they don't know, they don't hear, they don't see. But I'll tell you, there are a lot of things going on outside Dominica. You just have to Google Dominica government and you'll come up with all kinds of things. So,
but let me just before let me just put a full stop here, or comma. What we've been talking about this morning, Mr. Gregoire, do you think it's fair though to the Dominican people and the government that to prevent we are not getting anything in exchange? Our students who of course usually goes to Cuba and get a medical certificate and some medical training. You're saying that Mr. Trump is going trying to stop that program. Do you think it's fair to the Dominican people? I mean, Peter paying for Paul here.
Not fair at all, Matt. The first question I would ask the Americans is that, okay, if you say that I can't train my students in Cuba, are you going to give me scholarships, the scholarships that the Cuban government gives us at no cost to us, or very little cost? Are you going to give us scholarships to U.S. universities to train medical students? I can tell you that the answer would be no. Because the U.S. has never really given us scholarships for training doctors. The U.S. doesn't even have enough places for training their own doctors, far less for bringing doctors from outside. So that's a huge challenge. That's why you have all of these offshore medical schools in the Caribbean. It's because they're training doctors for the U.S. Market, because the U.S. cannot train all the doctors it needs.
Well, as you said that we had our own university in Dominica. What happened to that?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes of this government of Dominica is to allow 40% of its GDP to go to Barbados by losing Ross University. Well, I think that alone, on that basis alone, the government of Roosevelt Skerrit should have been kicked out of office. The Dominican people gave him a break, but look at what we have at Portsmouth, a dead town, a dead second town, because they allowed the whole 20% of your economy gone, never to be replaced, not by what they're trying to do with about 50 students. That can't cut it. It took us 40 years to build that university on Dominica. And then we export it? Come on. So, Matt, I mean, we really have to build a new university sector. That offshore university sector has to be rebuilt, but I don't see it happening under this administration. They've clearly showed that that was not important to them, but it brought poverty, impoverishment to the Dominican people. But Matt, I want us to focus on the Cuban issue, because the end of the medical brigade will mean, and Dominica said that they would not end the medical brigade, but I don't think that they have any say in this. Secretary of State Rubio is...
So are you saying they will not have a choice?
They will have no choice, Matt. Zero choice. Because already Dominica is facing 3 sets of sanctions. If they don't want more, they better yield and come to the table and talk. You see, one of the things I have noticed about the Trump administration, and for those people who don't like Trump and for me, it doesn't really matter who is in Washington, because Washington policy does not change from Republican to Democrat. Their foreign policy remains the same. And that is from, all the administrations from 1959 to now in the U.S. have been anti-Cuba, and that policy has been consistent. They would like to remove the Castro or the current Cuban regime, and maybe now they see an opportunity when Cuba is facing all kinds of crises. Because Cuba's tourism has never bounced back to pre-COVID levels. Cuba had a very, very vibrant tourism. But since COVID, the onslaught of COVID, they have not been able to rise back to that level of people coming to Cuba. So it has really put a dent in their finances. And they really depended on the Venezuelan oil, and now that's gone. So then the students, our students in Cuba, Matt, you mentioned the medical students. I think that's the first line of attack. But the second line of attack that's coming is all students. The U.S. government right now would want no students from the CARICOM going to Cuba. That is their stated goal. And I think the assault on the medical students is a very, very important one, and one that is very adverse for the Caribbean countries. I don't know what impact it will have in Dominica, because I don't know how many Cuban medical personnel we have there. But if you take a country like Jamaica, without the Cubans, I don't know how the Jamaican health sector is going to thrive, especially in this hurricane reconstruction period that Jamaica finds itself. They have the largest contingent of Cuban medical personnel. Now, there are a few countries that have already yielded to the pressure. Bahamas, Guyana, and Antigua, they have scrambled to comply with that request to end the brigade. Now, the government of Antigua has been very coy about what they have done, because it was the opposition in Antigua that broke the story and really embarrassed the government. Now, in Dominica, our government prides itself on having a close association with Cuba. We've had that for a long time. It was only Ms. Charles who was opposed to having any kind of support from Cuba, and she refused to accept Cuban help. That is why the Dominican Labour Party, when it was in opposition, sent the first set of students to Cuba on the scholarship that was offered to the government of Dominica but not accepted by Ms. Charles. And the Cuban government gave it to the Dominican Labour Party. When the United Workers' Party came to office, they did something rather incredible. They were the ones who established diplomatic relations with Cuba, and then the training, the scholarships program of Cuba now became official. So Dominica and Cuba's government had agreements, and so a number of our students were trained in Cuba from 1979 to now. The fact that a sister Caribbean country could help another sister Caribbean country, that was just the most laudable thing that any government would have done for human resource development in the region. And the Cubans have contributed significantly.
Well, I'm hearing there from other critics that now that Trump is behaving the way he is, we should try to move away from Trump and try to align ourselves. That's the views of some critics, like China and other countries like Panama, you know. So let's leave Trump alone as CARICOM, and you know, we will not have dire consequences, if you know what I mean.
Well, Matt, these are, you know, they're wishes. People have wishes, and I guess if you have wishes, you might ride a buick, a donkey, right? But if you have a real reality, seriously, Matt.
A check.
I don't care how cohesive CARICOM gets, and they try to work together. You're fighting the most powerful country in the world, that whose interest is only theirs. They don't have anybody's else interest at heart. This is a dog eat dog world. That's the world we have. Nobody cares about you. They tell you to play by the rules, and you try to play by the rules, then you get burnt because the rules get changed while you are in the middle of the river.
So you're basically saying we don't have a choice. We have to align with America if we want, you know, to go anywhere.
Yes, and I think America is going to get hard-nosed with other powers, especially the Chinese.
So you said it's going to get worse before it gets better, Mr. Gregor?
Oh, yes, Matt. Oh, yes. The U.S. is going to counter the Chinese in the region. That's what I see coming. And Dominica is on the front lines of that, because we have the largest Chinese presence because of the airport construction. But added to the airport construction is the concerns in Washington. Why are you building an airport with a 10,000 feet runway? Is that to accommodate Chinese military jets? That is being discussed in Washington right now, man. So the question is, after Venezuela and look now Cuba, Dominica could well be another theater of where the competition between the two powers plays out.
Mm-hmm.
And then this thing happening at Dave Wash has added fuel to the fire, because now United States is now saying the Chinese are behind environmental damage on Dominica. So you can see, Matt, that this thing is not over yet. This is it's like a gathering storm. At some point, it will blow. So, Matt, I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but it's not looking good for our region at all. And we have to watch what's happening in Venezuela because we at a stopgap. I think the Americans learned one lesson in Iraq, is that if you're going to topple a regime that has been in power for a long time, you don't destroy the governing structures. You try to decapitate the leadership, but not the structures. In Iraq, the Americans made a huge mistake, and Afghanistan as well. So they learned a lesson, and that is why they have not removed Maduro's government completely. But that is still to come.
Very, very, very interesting there. Talking about we're talking some geopolitics here, and of course the pressure now on the Caribbean. Again, they're watching us very closely, Mr. Gregoire. They're looking at us very, very closely, especially.
Matt, the question I have for you: you said this morning that the Prime Minister is in Dubai at the moment.
Yes, he's attending some international conference, from what I gather.
I see.
Yes. So you're not aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware. The thing is that I'm waiting to hear how many deportees he's taking in. Has he said anything about that?
No, not numbers. As a matter of fact, the news we spoke about this morning, really, medical students have not been told to us. We got it from the Caribbean country of St. Lucia, the Prime Minister there, but no information about that just yet. Huh?
Yeah, well, Matt, that story you gave this morning from St. Lucia is also in the Caribbean Life newspaper here in New York. The headline is U.S. orders St. Lucia to stop sending students to Cuba. And that was dated yesterday, February 2nd.
So, and you don't think our Prime Minister is aware that that is happening?
Oh, he's aware. No, he knows. I mean, he's getting firsthand the directives from the State Department. So he knows.
So why is he not? Why is he not informing his people?
Well, he probably is afraid of telling the people really what he signed. I want to know what's in that MOU that he signed with the U.S. Because Matt, I can only go by a country called Palau, which is in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
In late October, they signed an agreement to take in deportees. They agreed to take 75 deportees per year for the rest of the Trump administration, which is 3 years. And they got a good package. For example, Matt, for each deportee, they're getting $100,000 for settling them. And then they get $7.5 million grant for accepting the deportees. And then they get $6 million for their pension fund for civil servants, which had some kind of financial challenges. And then they get $2 million, another pot of money for what's called law enforcement initiatives. So I am anxious to hear what Dominica is getting. I think Palau negotiated a good deal. The Prime Minister was upfront with the people of Palau and gave them that information the week just before Christmas.
Well, as I said, I hope he comes quickly and tell us what is really going on with this agreement there, because everybody's asking the question. We have to be transparent about this.
No, it's a legitimate question for the Dominican people to quickly get the answer, Matt, because we're going to bring in some people into our country. We don't know the numbers yet. If it's like Antigua that said, and the Antiguan Prime Minister was transparent and said he would take 10 deportees each year. Dominica is hiding the figure, even though Antigua and Dominica signed that agreement around the same time. So I think it's a hot potato for the Prime Minister, and he's probably a little afraid to tell the Dominican people how many. But, he's already signed, and the question is the deportees might start arriving soon.
How soon is the question? How soon? How soon?
How soon? Well, Matt, you should ask him at the next press conference, because I'm sure when he comes back from Dubai, he will quickly call a press conference, because so many pressing issues that he has to deal with. He has 3 sets of sanctions that he's facing from the U.S. He literally has, because January is over, so he has 2 more months to comply. They gave them 90 days. That's 3 months. 1 month gone. Today is already the 3rd of February.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of March, he better he better do things to mitigate the travel ban, because while we have a partial ban, after 90 days, if they've not satisfied the U.S. concerns, it goes to a permanent ban.
Very, very interesting. Now, you were asking about the Prime Minister. Yes, the Prime Minister will be participating in the World Government Summit in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, where he will contribute to high-level discussions on global investment trends and the future of tourism in an evolving international landscape. So that's the subject of discussion for the next 3 days.
Oh, I see. Well, I wish him well. I wish the Prime Minister well. I hope he comes back well prepared to address some of the concerns and to tell the Dominican people what he is doing to get off the partial travel ban and the visa suspensions that have not only impacted people at home, but also those in the diaspora. I mean, Matt, when you think about it, we're in a serious situation, because a lot of people whose families filed for them to get green cards, if their appointment was going to be in 2026, after waiting for anywhere from 5 to 8 years, you're waiting for your green card call, and they finally gave you a date last year to say it's going to be in 2026, and you have an appointment. Well, that's suspended. There'll be no green card appointments at the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. That's scuttled. We already know for visitor visa, student visa, J1 visa, H1B visa, that's scuttled. Now, Matt, but here's one that really was not foreseen. Those Dominican citizens, immigrants who have been here working for years, decide to become a U.S. citizen because they see the writing on the wall. A green card doesn't cut it these days. They can just tear that green card at any moment. And a lot of people are losing their green card.
As a matter of fact, a lot of people are even afraid to come to Dominica for the carnival. Yes?
Yes. Mark, if I have a green card, if I had a green card, I had one at one time. But if I have a green card now, I wouldn't chance it to travel outside the U.S. because they're going to ask you a lot, especially if you come from Dominica or Antigua Barbuda. They're going to grill you with questions when you enter. So I would say, if you don't have to come to the U.S., if there's no need for you to come to the U.S., it's not a friendly place anymore. I mean, you could be met on the street by ICE. They don't know that you are just visiting. They want to see your papers. And even though you have legal stay on a visitor's visa, they can just arrest you and let you have to prove that you're here legally. I mean, Matt, there are a lot of things happening in the U.S. that are not very nice. I'll tell you that. I mean, for example, if I go to Washington, I have to make sure I have my U.S. passport in my pocket, because if I run into ICE, a copy of my passport will not suffice. I need to show them the passport or my naturalization certificate. And Matt, they're even talking about taking away naturalizations from people. That is the climate in the United States right now. So, it's not the most friendly place to go. Things have changed as of last year when Mr. Trump came in. And the immigration policy that is being handed down, I have never seen this. As a student of immigration, I've been studying immigration since I was in university, and I taught immigration at Brooklyn College in my early years as a teacher. And Matt, I'll tell you, never have I seen the administration of immigration law the way it is being administered right now under the Trump administration. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm getting some. I got some news this morning, Crispin. I don't know if you're aware that I got a story that says Trump administration sued over visa freeze on immigrants from 75 countries. Have you seen that story?
Yes. Well, you know, there are 75 countries for which on the visa ban. So it's not just Dominica and Antigua. Dominica and Antigua happen to be in that 75. And they are the only, I believe, I don't want to be quoted on that because I'm not absolutely sure, but I think that these are the two Caribbean countries that are on the list for visa ban. But of all the CARICOM countries, Dominica and Antigua have the longest list of concerns from the United States.
And that's officially from Washington, from the information there from Washington.
That is officially from Washington. Because, Matt, you realize that there are three sets of sanctions. Let me just enumerate what they are. First, you have the visa suspension. So it's both immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, the suspension of any appointment for visas, whether it's for immigrant or non-immigrant, but also the impact on those who want to naturalize. So Dominicans and Antiguans are not up for naturalization right now. That's suspended. Now, assuming that the government would meet the concerns in the 90 days, in this next 2 months that's left, and we might just get off. But I'll tell you one thing, even though we get off, the other concerns for Dominica remain. What about China? China is a big elephant in the room.
Uh-oh.
And how do you get that elephant out? That's U.S. is looking. I think they would like to humiliate China in Dominica. I believe that.
Well, because I did ask at the last news conference, I said, Prime Minister, at some time you're gonna have to make a choice, America or China. That's the reality.
Well, Matt, we had a foreign policy posture which most of the CARICOM countries took over the years. Was that first of all, we are satellite of none and we are friend of all. U.S. doesn't care about that, not the Trump administration. Satellite of none, they want satellite, United States satellite. All of the countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, the U.S. wants them to become satellites of the U.S. and nobody else. And so right now, but it's not so easy because many of the countries, their trading arrangements have changed so that China is increasingly their major trading partner. So you really can't wish the Chinese out, but there are ways of getting them out. For example, there are 9 countries in the CARICOM with relations with Beijing and 5 with Taiwan. I think that the U.S. would like to see more countries break relations with Beijing and go back to Taiwan if they did that before, or if they were with Taiwan before and they broke and went to Beijing, the U.S. would welcome them to go back to Taiwan. So there's all of that is at play. You know, who knows whether a future government in Dominica will decide to go back to Taiwan. I mean, Washington would embrace that.
So if as of course, a seasoned politician, a seasoned diplomat, you were to advise the next government of Dominica, what would be advised in terms of foreign relations?
Well, on the China question, that's a difficult one. That question, Matt, You're reading my mind. That question has been posed to me already.
Really? Okay.
Not only for Dominica, but also for St. Vincent. St. Vincent's new government, they campaign on a promise of breaking relations with Taiwan and going to Beijing. I don't think the U.S. will allow that to happen. They will tell that government in no uncertain terms that's a non-starter. The second thing they want to do is to do a CBI program. The U.S. might say, yes, you could do a CBI program, but under certain clear rules, like what Grenada has. You know, Grenada has a specific treaty with the U.S. as relates to CBI. So you never hear Grenada name mentioned in the media about CBI passports, right, Mark?
No, not really.
That is why Grenada has a specific treaty that under which their CBI program is recognized by the U.S. Dominica has no such arrangement.
Somebody asked me to ask you. I think this interview took place in 2010. Let's get a piece of this. So listen carefully.
In China, your relations with President Xi on a professional level go way back, right? As early as the 2010s. In 2013, we heard that during a very personal trip of yours, you cut short that trip to meet President Xi in the neighboring country of Trinidad and Tobago. How did that happen?
I felt it important and necessary that I cut my trip short to engage and to meet President Xi. And I think that was a very important engagement. It really helped President Xi to better appreciate the Caribbean region, to better appreciate the relationship between Dominica, and that has certainly helped in strengthening and deepening the relationship which now exists between our two countries.
Mr. Prime Minister,
you heard that? It was 2010. I think it was 2010.
Yes, sometime around there, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I must say that the Chinese exploited sort of the U.S. distractions that was going on at the time. Because remember, the U.S. got itself bogged down in Iraq, they got themselves bogged down in Afghanistan. And meanwhile that is going on, the Chinese are having a field day in their region. So if things have caught up with them, then they realize, wow, the Chinese are like Wudans. They're all over. They're all over Latin America. They're all over the Caribbean. Except in the 5 places where they didn't have diplomatic relations in the Caribbean islands. So they had Belize, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and Haiti. These are the 5 countries that have relations with Taiwan. The rest, the other 9 are with Beijing. And one of the things that I think is important for the region is to not allow winner takes all, so that all the countries go to People's Republic. I think the U.S. is a big proponent of keeping that split between Taiwan and China, so that Taiwan is not kicked out of the region and Beijing takes all 14 CARICOM states.
Very, very serious geopolitical issues going on. But Mr. Crispin Gregoire, again, thank you for your time. Thank you as always. Very educational. A lot of food for thought there. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We're going to take a break and we'll come right back. This is Q95.
You know, Global GMC show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Chaplitz, and Pastor Randy Rodney. We will discuss politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. There are a few issues and questions and talking points. Is there a clash between politics and the gospel? Does the church in Dominica play any role in preserving democracy? Should pastors and priests be involved in politics? Are some political leaders preying on religion, or are these leaders preying on the poor? Is religion being used as an opium of the people or as an oppressor of the people? Have religious events been poisoned by the lust for power and money? Have politicians pivoted to scripture and religious ceremonies to influence and pacify voters? Is there an exchange between government and churches in shaping the moral fiber of the nation? Have politicians and government hijacked religious ceremonies and festivities for political gain? Can gospel music festivals be organized by governments be genuine economic drivers for Dominica? Why should a government organize a gospel festival free of charge and yet not disclose the source of the financing and the proceeds generated from the event? Is the separation of church and state a valid proposition? Does the church have a role to play in justice and peace? Can peace exist without justice? What about human rights and the dignity of human beings? So we look forward to the contributions of Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Chaplitz, Pastor Randy Rodney, and the callers and viewers on the radio, on Facebook and on YouTube, on our topic, politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. So join us for more Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the Global View.
One week without stardom and everybody pressure up. So join us this Wednesday, February 4th, 8:30 p.m. The Factory. Stardom Tent, celebrities meet Calypso. Yes, people, come and see Joe D Boy. Come and see Lakia Joseph, Israel Fontaine, and so many celebrities coming through at Stardom Celebrity Meet Calypso this Wednesday. $25 gets you in the Factory, Bali Road, and watch that. Dangles tell me big national security coming through for a big special guest artist. Dangles don't want to tell me who. Dangles, who it is. You want to know who? Then join us this Wednesday. Celebrity Meet Stardom, the Factory, 8:30 p.m. $25 gets you in. Stardom Dance. In the
All right, Dominic Hill, we're exploring some issues here this afternoon there. I just picked up, a few days ago, an interesting story as it relates to offshore banks. Allegedly maybe involved in corrupt activities. And I'm hoping that the authorities are paying attention. Let's listen to this short clip here as it relates to offshore bank and some criminal activities here.
And Jack Smith going after him and proving to the American people that beyond a reasonable doubt, he would have gotten that conviction, right? Then there's another story that would explain the blacklist that came out in 2023 in the Washington Post, and where they put the pieces together about a then struggling entity that Trump owns and still owns called Truth Social. Truth Social was struggling for cash. Its merger with its public company to give Donald Trump a lot of money was being blocked by the Biden Securities and Exchange Commission, and they needed cash, and they needed a loan. They found a loan, an $8 million loan, came in through Patrick Orlando, a fraudster, who found the money and got a $240,000 finder's fee. Came through Dominica and a bank in Dominica, who's usually at the heart, get this, of the pornography industry, called Paxum Bank in Dominica, through ES Family Trust, which is connected to Anton Postelnikov, who's related to Putin and a close confidant of Putin. So Putin-related $8 million comes into Truth Social. A whistleblower goes out, Will Wilkerson, and I've had the lawyer for Will Wilkerson here before talking about this, goes public about the $8 million. Don Jr. approves it, and the money goes in the bank. See, banks don't like being used with shady, sordid money from nefarious sources that can't be proven. Another good reason to get debanked, another good reason to be on a blacklist. Let me play you a clip from Patrick Mincy, who represents Will Wilkerson, when I interviewed him last month. You can see how all of this information is fair game in this lawsuit if I'm representing JP Morgan, Chase, and Jamie Dimon. And Donald Trump will have to sit in a seat one day in a deposition and reveal it. Let's play Patrick Mincy talking about this banking unholy relationship, which could be the reason why they're on a blacklist. Play the clip.
These loans came into the company at a time when the company was struggling to keep the lights on. And but for these loans, the company would have gone under. Mr. Wilkerson brought this to the attention through counsel, through federally protected programs, to the Department of Justice, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and through Mr. Wilkerson's whistleblowing, federal law enforcement, through the Southern District of New York, through the Southern District of Florida, in a joint Homeland Security and FBI task force investigation called Operation Trust Social, began to look into those loans. All of this is a part of the public court record, and all of this was revealed in the spring of 2023.
All right, Dominic, some of what is happening there in your background. A little information. Our cops, our authorities, aware of what is going on here. I know one person, one citizen. Yes, I'm. Again, we're here. Of course, we did speak about some of what's going on in the Caribbean there. And we ended with the issue of corruption within the offshore banks in Dominica. Why are our authorities and law enforcement not telling us about what's going on here? On the telephone, 218, yes? Oh, sorry about that. On the telephone, hello, good afternoon to you.
Hello, Matt. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Matt, before you end your program this afternoon, after listening to Mr. Crispin Gregoire, give me a little decal, please, by Dicey, written by Patty Run.
You want
Thank you.
you want Dicey?
Before you end, yes, play that for me. Written by Patty Run, the genius. He sees things before they happen.
All right, decale. All right. Okay, thank you. Somebody says, well, the onus is now upon us Dominicans. If they want to better, they have to remove Mr. Skerritt at all costs. Caribbean leaders are being placed under immense pressure. The citizens will realize they do not want to be further squeezed out of breath. They have no choice but to demand the immediate resignation of Mr. Skerritt. Western Union will soon have no money. My friend there went there yesterday and today, no money there. I will not be able to tell you why, though. On the telephone, hello, talk to me, yes?
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you, sir. How you doing?
Matt, we have a secret prime minister. That's what we have.
A secret prime minister?
Yeah, that's what we have. He doesn't tell us. Imagine, Matt, we wanted to know, and a parliamentarian was allowed to ask the question, how much money he spent on the case against Thompson Fontaine and the other opposition leader and members. And the Minister of Security refused to answer the question in Parliament, Matt. And on what grounds? He said if he answered the question, it might cause a security problem or words to that effect. So, Matt, it's just insane. You're spending these millions of dollars prosecuting the opposition, and when asked how much have you spent, they refuse to tell you. So what does that tell you, Matt? Will he tell you anything else? And it's the grounds that he claims that he's not telling us, it will cause some kind of security risk of some sort. Is this real? Are we in a real country, Matt? Good afternoon.
So many things. They say Dominica is just pregnant with issues. I just heard an interview done with the Prime Minister, and let's listen to there for a minute there. As it relates to water.
So we have the capacity to export millions of gallons of water on a daily basis.
So you are self-sufficient in
We're
water.
self-sufficient in water. There are no desalination plants in Dominica. It is purely surface water. We have millions and millions of gallons of underground water that we have not touched at all.
Well, that is a wonderful position.
So it is there. And we have the capacity to export. There, in fact, facilities at every one of our ports in Dominica to be able to supply the ships. We supply the cruise ships at present that come into the region with fresh water, and also the cargo vessels which pass through our ports.
Right.
But in terms of selling water to the US or selling water to the Middle East or selling water to China, we have the capacity to do that. And I believe the international community, as we've started to give attention to it, must look at where are the sources of water, where are the challenges, and to see how we can work together. And of course, from our standpoint, yes, there will be an economic opportunity, but in large measure, we believe that we have a moral obligation to the rest of the world. And whatever our resources, as small as it may be, we can share with the rest of the world.
Well, that is wonderful. And long may that continue.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so the Prime Minister, of course, you just heard him, right? He wants us to share our resources with the rest of the world, and we're there destroying the very resource, huh? 223. Again, as I shared with you just a few minutes ago, we have information that a few of the offshore banks may be involved in corrupt practices. And I'm hoping that the authorities can get involved. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Yeah, good afternoon, Matt.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. Matt, I don't know how true that is, but I understood from fair sources that the amount of refugees, asylum seekers, ex-convict, I don't know what you need to call them, that Prime Minister Kerry has signed to come to Dominica is 162. That's what I understood, 162. The other thing is, people are saying to the Prime Minister that the Prime Minister should resign. Matt, dictators doesn't resign. You have to take them out there, or they die in a hole.
So how do you plan to take him out there? If you
The people.
Oh, the people. Okay.
Yeah, the people. And the other thing, and I'm saying that we haven't got negotiators. If I was on that negotiating panel or committee, I would say to America that we owe China a lot of money, right? That if you want us to come out from China, right, to move away from that system, can you pay the debt that we owe China? Because, Matt, eventually and inevitably, we have to move away from China to go to America. So I'll be proactive, right? And say to them, well, we can't pay the debt now. And we can't move away if we don't pay the debt. Pay the debt for us and then move up. Because we are going to move, whether we pay it or not, somehow, at some stage, we're going to have to move over and choose. We cannot be on two sides. We have to choose one or the other. And the obvious one would be move away from China and go to America. So that is what I would do, Mike. Thank you.
So you move from China and go to America. That's your point, huh? All right, 225. There are many who think or believe that we should stay with China. Well, that's for them. Different opinions, different people. On the telephone, let's take a voice note here. Yes.
Man, that piece you playing about water and all that stuff, I don't pay Skerrit no mind, because Skerrit don't have the ability to lead. Skerrit don't have a leadership kind of mentality. These guys are guys who put their hand in the bag and take for themselves, and that's mainly the mentality these guys have. So I'm not gonna waste time with that. Send you this note. You pose a question to Crispin, the former ambassador, in your early part of your interview there with him, Matt, and ask him if the people of Dominica are responsible for what took place through, i.e., the so-called world boss or so-called leader. Matt, in politics, Matt, they don't see the people separate from their leader unless you have a real drastic issue on the country or whatever. And even sometimes it don't matter, because their geopolitics is not addressing what the people suffering, man. First and foremost is there. You see, like in Trump thing, it says America first, and this is what is putting forward, man. America first agenda, and everything else followed. Now, you remember, you've heard it before. They say politics has consequences. Politics has consequences. The consequences that Dominica is facing today is for having this politician in office for the last 20 years and went along with everything. For everything that went wrong, nothing took place, nothing happened. FIU, you just played some financial thing with the Russian bank. You played something earlier from Cayman with 20 million, and everybody getting their share, and the people been suffering. So in that case, my friend, the same way the leaders make the people suffer, another country want to put forth the agenda, the people take the blame because they allow it to happen. They voted this guy to be in there to look after the shop, and he did nothing for 20 years, and now you cannot be blaming somebody else. I always tell you, Matt, point one finger on somebody, and you have the rest of them coming back at you. The people are responsible for not standing up, doing nothing.
Ah. As I said, so many issues to explore there. Good afternoon to you on the telephone. Are you there? 2:29 is the afternoon time.
Good afternoon, man.
Good afternoon to you. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing?
Matt, I'm around.
Okay.
But this topic has been one of interest to me.
Which one?
Matt, as you know, the offshore sector,
Okay.
the offshore banking and that kind of thing, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had concerns about our CBI and our offshore banking sector. But you know, I believe Dominica has created a real mafia in offshore banking, Matt. But we have created a mafia that has grown so close to the leaders of this country. And when I say leaders of this country, I'm not just talking about the ministers, the politicians. I also talking about the public service, like the senior members of the public service, Matt.
Really? Like the FSU, they call it?
FSU.
Okay.
And we'll later get to FIU.
All right.
But certainly FSU is an institution that we must be very, very, very watchful of. Matt, we have seen public service the public service within the financial sector of Dominica have been very corrupt, Matt. You know? And that mafia within the banking sector has about 5 banks, Matt. One man having 5 offshore banks in Dominica.
Really?
But does that make any sense to you?
Doesn't make any sense, but why?
It is clearly something has to be. He must be either holding something, or somebody has an interest. Because, man, at the end of the day, you look at Dominica and you see even our leaders getting involved in that garbage. You know what I'm saying, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
We have to take a stand, Matt, because we see even ministers, not ministers, but politicians, Matt. I don't want to say ministers to avoid myself from getting sued.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say politicians, Matt, within the country, young politicians, Matt, are being used by the same senior public servants within the financial sector, and some of the politicians themselves. So that mafia banker, Matt, has been doing lots of things in this country, buttering people, and we have public servants getting rich overnight, Matt.
You said a mafia banker. That's interesting. A mafia banker.
Yes, Matt, a banker with several banks.
Oh.
Matt, I receive information, Matt, that a Muslim banker, a person with a bank, who's a Muslim, with several banks, Matt, in Dominica. The Pentagon is really, really looking, you know, and they are preparing reports on Dominica on that personal situation, Matt. But I don't want to come too direct.
Right.
But I have friends within certain high-ranking places that have always been speaking to me, Matt. You recall when I tell you banks were going to be closed?
Yep.
You recall when I tell you offshore accounts were being shut down?
Mm-hmm.
You recall when I tell you banks in Dominica, lawyers' accounts were going to be shut down, Matt? You recall that?
Yes, and it happened.
I always came out and tell you what was happening, Matt, in this country, in the offshore sector. I knew it was going to be a sad day for Dominica. I can tell you, the next one that will be coming for us is our offshore sector. They are already speaking of it, but they will crash. It will have a serious crash within our offshore sector, Matt. Matt, you see, overnight, all little boys that within the financial sector in this country becoming rich overnight, Matt. You understand? By breaking offshore laws, Matt. You think the Americans not watching that, Matt?
So who?
Washington is watching.
But let me ask you a
But
question.
they have accounts in America, little boys here.
No, but
within the financial sector.
I'm asking.
Several accounts in
America. Hold on, Mr. Chillingsford. Who has to issue licenses to get offshore banks?
Who has to
Who has to
issue licenses, Matt?
to get the offshore banks?
But it has to go through FSU.
Oh, okay.
The minister. But we know how it is in Dominica. Anybody can bother somebody in this country, and that person can call that person. And it goes in a chain. Even you remember when our diplomatic passport was being sold for millions, Matt? Millions, lawyers were making deals. You remember that, Matt?
Of course.
You remember Susan only got a diplomatic passport? What did Antonio Stephens tell us, Matt? The Americans are watching all these things, Matt. And I want to tell them within the financial sector that the long arm of the law in America is looking at them. They will give them a chance to do what they have to do. And they're closing on them.
So why?
So Matt, is not all is not lost.
No, but why are our law enforcement officers? They might know something. Why are they not getting involved?
But the FIU is compromised. The police are compromised. But you know what it is in Dominica. You know how it is to climb the ladder. You know how it is to become a commissioner, deputy, a superintendent. These people are not going to investigate crimes against the government or people within the government. You know that, Matt? Matt, recently, the Americans caught a young politician on tape discussing wrongdoings within the FIU, Matt.
In Dominica?
Within the FSU, sorry, not FIU, FSU. But Matt, in that same recording, he picking up his deal. The Americans have that. They are looking, things not just going on, Matt. Sometimes we think we're clear, and we're really not. While Dominicans catching their tail, Matt, things are so hard. And you have senior public officers within the financial sector becoming rich overnight. Within 6 months, a senior person within the financial sector amassed over $1.5 million, Matt.
That's serious information here.
You know, young boys having massive properties, several bank accounts overseas, within their girlfriend's name and everything, Matt. Matt, it is something that will come to an end, and it will have a bitter end for them, Matt.
So
you know what I'm saying, Matt?
So you're saying basically the Americans are watching, they're watching, they're monitoring.
But not just watching, Matt. They're preparing file on them. They have recordings on them. Matt, I also want to ask the Prime Minister, what is his relationship? How close he is to the Muslim banker? I would like to ask him how close he is with that Muslim banker. You understand, Matt? And I will have several other.
Are you there? I suspect something may have happened there.
There will be several other questions coming up in the next edition, Matt. Questions about that Muslim banker, how close he is, and to the Prime Minister.
A Muslim banker.
Many more questions. Matt, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. We were losing you for a minute there, but you say...
Right. But Dominicans don't have to worry too long, you know. Because the Pentagon is already on our case, Matt. Several files have been filed, made up on the financial sector of this country, Matt. We don't have to wait too long. Senior public officers will be caught within that ring, Matt. But let me just close by telling you, the FIU is fully compromised. The FSU is fully compromised. The IPO is fully compromised. The police force is fully compromised. You understand what I'm saying, Matt?
I'm following you.
Matt, they are all fully compromised. And they will never seek to see justice done. But they all will fall within the long arm of the law. But it is not a simple case.
I know it's not, but I want to ask you a question before you wrap up on that point there, or as you wrap up,
Right.
because I know you're commissioned and everybody seems very concerned. Even Mr. Nasser seems very concerned that the young people of Dominica are not being given a chance to register as new voters. What's your take on that? How soon do you think that's going to happen? That we'll have new registration?
But with that commission, man, you can never tell if you come in or you go in, man. But the commission has free representative of the government, man, free appointees. And two, myself and Mr. Wayne James, a solid commissioner, Wayne James.
Mm-hmm.
Not every single thing we bring forward to bring electoral reform forward from day one has been sabotaged by the government appointees, man. And I want to say that Duncan Stowe, when he came in, Dominicans believed he would do something to see electoral reform. But he's one of the main people frustrating the system, man. These guys will vote as a bloc, and this government doesn't want to see reform in a reasonable form. They want reform that will guarantee them winning the election. For example, man, this government is doing everything in its power to prevent Dominicans who have voted over 8, 9, 10 times, man, to try to prevent them from voting because the government has made them so poor that they cannot afford a passport. They cannot afford a license. And because of that, this government will refuse to reconfirm them. But let me ask a question before I go. But I want to ask the FSU, Minister of Finance, and the Prime Minister, what is the price for a license of an offshore bank, man? Are you listening to me?
I'm right here.
If you ask 3 different ones, all of them will give you a different price. It ranges from maybe 500,000 to 2 million, Matt. Well, and I would ask the second question, Matt. How much of this money was to the treasury of this country for the license of the bank? Even when the license would cost $2 million, as to where it stopped, where the cash stopped, it's not for me to say. Everybody has to get a cut. Not our financial sector is a disaster. And the Americans are not going to sit there to see Americans' money being fleeced of Americans by some corrupt politicians in this country. I pray for the day that Dominicans will get up and take this government out of office once and for all.
Mr. Hillary Schuldenberg, thank you. Serious corruption taking place, according to Mr. Hillary Schuldenberg. Alleged corruption taking place within the financial sector that needs to be investigated. I'm hoping that the authorities are listening. He has pointed to a few areas. More questions to be asked on the telephone. Are you there? Yes. Hello? Nobody there. Every day. It's another issue. When is it going to end? Are you there? Talk to me.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Yeah.
Now that offshore bank I heard you speak about, this is a thing I heard since about 2024, in that campaign. The people even call the name of the village, the place that the offshore bank in, So they were talking about it has to do with the Russians and things, So, we Dominicans, we does listen. We does not listen. We ain't things. When people come and tell us things, we just say it's not true, or we just saying things because we don't like the Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister has been doing a lot of corruption in our country. He's the head. He's the leading person that doing, because if a man can tell me he built 1 to 3 mansions, plus things are building on other people's name. He's been building on other people's name. You check? All that is nonsense. So them are bound to have some money, corruption money, right? So I want Dominicans to always listen, put their, if they can't get news, number one, TBS radio doesn't give us the news. If it's something against Thompson Fountain, against Lennox Winton, against Matt Penty, they will give the news. But anytime it's positive things that happen in about Dominica, they don't know about it. I mean, Curtis Matthew, I surprised at him, to tell the truth. I really, really surprised at him. I tell it to Minister already, so it's not a thing I say on the radio and to tell it to him. I tell it to him, right? So we need to go to our TV, right? There's a program I just listen to. I can't remember the name of it, but the host is Ben Marcellus. And you know, so he's three brothers, Marcellus brothers. And this guy gives you everything, including what happened in the Caribbean. He's on that IAS since 2024. I heard about that bank thing in Dominica. You understand? So that's why all people, we have to listen and listen properly and do the right thing. Election not far. It's coming.
It's coming soon. Coming soon. Coming soon. Coming back.
This is our third Global Beyond Q show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Sharpless, and Pastor Randy Rodney. We will discuss politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. There are a few issues and questions and talking points. Is there a clash between politics and the gospel? Does the church in Dominica play any role in preserving democracy? Should pastors and priests be involved in politics? Are some political leaders preying on religion, or are these leaders preying on the poor? Is religion being used as an opium of the people or as an oppressor of the people? Have religious events been poisoned by the lust for power and money? Have politicians pivoted to scripture and religious ceremonies to influence and pacify voters? Is there an exchange between government and churches in shaping the moral fiber of the nation? Have politicians and government hijacked religious ceremonies and festivities for political gain? Can gospel music festivals be organized by governments be genuine economic drivers for Dominica? Why should a government organize a gospel festival free of charge and yet not disclose the source of the financing and the proceeds generated from the event? Is the separation of church and state a valid proposition? Does the church have a role to play in justice and peace? Can peace exist without justice? What about human rights and the dignity of human beings? So we look forward to the contributions of Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Sharpless, Pastor Randy Rodney, and the callers and viewers on the radio, on Facebook and on YouTube, on our topic, politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. So join us for more Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the Global Beyond.
Freedom has to. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One week without stardom and everybody pressure up. So join us this Wednesday, February 4th, 8:30 p.m. The Factory. Stardom Dance, celebrities meet Calypso. Yes, people. come and see Joe D Boy. Come and see Lakia Joseph, Israel Fontaine, and so many celebrities coming through at Stardom Celebrity Meet Calypso this Wednesday. $25 gets you in the factory, Bali Road. And watch that. Dangles tell me big national security coming through for a big special guest artist. Dangles don't want to tell me who. Dangles, who it is. You want to know who? Then join us this Wednesday. Celebrity Meet Stardom, the factory. 8:30 p.m. $25 gets you in. It's Stardom Dance. In the yard.
All the opposition leaders will be.
It is not other than
there is a new drug on the market. They call it looking for the pocket. Once you take it, you become an addict.
We have certain persons just taken from the country, bleeding the country, all about self at the expense of the country.
The United Progressive Party will be exploring the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Fokole Resource Center, 7 p.m.
We are calling on all Dominicans, those of you who are whatever right you, because our country should take center stage. Should be focused in our mind as to its development and further development as we move towards the future.
Help build a team that will unite.
Our vision is to build Dominica as the nature island of the Caribbean, to develop a niche, to make Dominica the food basket.
The writing is on the wall, and Dominicans must attend to our business. It is high time, it is past time, and so Dominicans, now is the time for us to put those little petty, negative, trivialities things aside. And let us focus on country, and by all stretch of the imagination, we will realize our goals.
Fokole Resource Center, Tuesday, February 3rd. Be there, united for progress.
Rotary Club of Dominica and the Flow presents the original South and Punch All White Affair Fantasy Island. February 15th, that's Carnival Sunday from 3 p.m. at Zama Park in Maho. Hosted by the one and only Ezra the Fun Machine, alongside Emmanueli out of St. Lucia, LED Bad Artists out of Grenada, Trilogy, Rio, Sweet Stars, and Man in Harmony. DJ Lineup, DJ Flip the Boss, DJ Snow, DJ Spawner, DJ Chang out of St. Lucia, Unstoppable DJ, DJ Afi, the legendary DJ Cut, Sting the Supreme, and Hollywood HD out of St. Lucia. Complimentary styles, fish water, and punch until stocks last. Proceeds go towards community development and also parking development. Tickets available at Shop DM, Bullseye Pharmacy, Cubit Cut, Network Trading, and it's only $140 EC. Stout and Punch, the only place to be this Carnival Sunday, February 15th. See you there.
For too long, we have certain persons just taken from the country, bleeding the country, all about self at the expense of the country.
The United Progressive Party will be exploring the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Fokole Resource Center, 7 p.m.
We are calling on all Dominicans, those of you who are whatever right you, because our country should take center stage. Should be focused in our mind as to its development and further development as we move towards the future.
Help build a team that will unite.
Our vision is to build Dominica as the nature island of the Caribbean, to develop a niche, to make Dominica the food basket.
The writing is on the wall, and Dominicans must attend to our business. It is high time, it is past time, and so Dominicans, now is the time for us to put those little petty, negative, trivialities things aside, and let us focus on country, and by all stretch of the imagination, we really realize our goals.
Okole Resource Center, Tuesday, February 3rd. Be there, united for progress.
There is a new drug on the market. They call it looking for the pocket. Once you take it, you become an addict. And people that whisper your name in public. Yes, I know.
Somebody's on the telephone. Good afternoon, too. We're going to wrap it up in a minute there. You want to be on that list?
So if you know you got it, then go check the website and look for your name. Carry name on it. Looking for your pocket. Your name on it. Looking for your pocket. Richie name on it. Tony name on it. Your name on it.
We're wrapping up for the afternoon time.
All the name on it.
Doing something from Yakima 2010.
Looking for your
Is your name on it?
everything. From me, more poverty. Because they can't stop until their pockets full and our pocket empty. In their pocket, check your pocket. Destroying Dominican. Origin China, Venezuela. Mostly white collar, workers taking. So the police don't investigate it. Even factors and deep they don't detect. They always preach on every topic, but most of them they never preach against pocketing on their pulpit. May not name on it, looking for their pocket. Not name on it, looking for their pocket. Crystal name on it, Abraham name on it. Looking for their pocket. Monroe name on it, Murphy name on it.
My friend and Jimmy, your name not on it? Everybody taking out their name on it right now. Is your name on that list? Hello, talk to me. Are you there?
Yes, man. My name is Matthew.
Your name on it?
They say please take it for the call the Dicey.
Yes, I'm trying to get that one. Okay.
Okay, my brother.
All right.
Because they can't stop until their pockets full and our pockets empty. Check them out, money at it. Check them out, really at it. Drug is much stronger than respect. This money, so what you expect? Even the most educated doctors.
If your name is on it, raise your hand, huh? Miss I there. Well, you say present. Hello on the telephone. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mr. Pelte, good afternoon.
How are you doing, sir? How are you? Yeah.
I heard the Prime Minister talking about shipping water.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, That was a long time ago. Mhm.
Oh, that was a long time. But anyway, there is still opportunity, as I heard his voice. And I want him to think about it seriously because we have to get market. We have to work with the Americans. There's no two way about it, as Mr. Christian saying. Put things in order. We have to put our things in order and get very seriously. Get people around him, within the government system to help him. Because one of the problems, as you are a former talk show host just call it and tell you, the system around him is throwing him down. So you have to get people to help him in his administration. For instance, like Burkina Faso, he have his ministries them there, but he get ministries out of government like a Congress to help him with ordinary people that can help him to break through that. Because I think I told you that many times already. I myself have had an issue. I don't want to go back over it. And you have to get people, even on his talk show, to educate him. Because I told you, Mr. Sam Raphael had a program on Thursday, I think, talking, and those are the ideas he was giving the Prime Minister. Start to look about our own people, because we see what's happening to us. Why should we want to open up ourselves for foreigners? Look at how much we embrace a foreigner up Sufuya area there. We give him land, we give him everything, and look at the disaster he brings to us. And just before the man gets into that disaster, Bill Gates was in one place, Bill Gates is one of them top celebrities. These are powerful people. When you destroy a man like that on the island, it will help to destroy us. And Matt, this is no joke, I mean, when you're hearing about attacking our banks and you just talk about Western Union, you remember people have to get a little money from overseas. It's not politics, And I tell the Prime Minister sometimes his supporters, even those that goes in the talk show, they're more dividing the people. And you cannot divide a poor little unpopulation nation. You're going to suffer, you're going to backfire on us. Even your position, so you have to be diplomatic in debating. Some of them talk shows that you should put more better use to them so our people can embrace.
We've got to go. Okay, thank you, sir. It's 3 o'clock. You asked for Dekale. Here you are. 3 o'clock is the afternoon time. Dicey, wherever you are.
Friday selection season. When they come to stay for a day or two.
2020.
Dominica, diaspora, take a little.
Well, you know what to do? You know what they have to do now? Come down now. Come down. Mr. Trump.
They just come to make sure their sisters and brothers live in one. Like they come to take a lesson, for economy. Like they want take a lesson, for democracy. But God love our country, and eventually, individually, take a lesson, take a lesson.
Yesterday I got a little piece of the dice here. A lot of people wanted to share it again. Let me play it for you.
And something again.
Yeah.
Cecil and that Daryl, whatever that is his name, they should never. When you see I doesn't listen to them fellas there, because Cecil is already a big laborite, and he and Daryl, they know that already. You can be whatever you want to when it comes to supporting your political parties. That is your right, but you have to keep it to yourself. You can't be coming you can't be commentating on everybody that's sing against the administration. You want to give them a hard time, like they're never good. That your biasness not supposed to be there on a radio station, and not because he's the leader and he's the boss man of DBS, for him to be coming and speak when these people that's supposed to be speaking on DBS for the commentary, like Wackers is a good commentator for them things there, and they see Cecil not supposed to come there and join that. Nobody don't want his views on this. You understand? Nobody don't need his views on this. They know He working for an agenda. Everybody know that. Cecil, the directed partner, the one on the stage. What is his name? The little boy, girl kind of a fellas there. Them fellas.
The Dice Boy. I think you're missing this Calypso Arena this year, huh?
Every Dominican who move to greener pasture, move to help your family and loved ones living down here. That's why it is so strange and improbable that some would come and put young people in trouble. They know themselves. If they stop and think,
this is it for me. I'll be back tomorrow if God is willing.
they're getting nothing free. They just
On another
in a net.
Hot Sit program. Until that time, here we go. Day Khaled die. Hey, my units, how you doing down there? In that clothes store there.
One day they will see come is reality and individual.
Hey, Jennifer Coffee, big time viewer there, big time listener. My white, I hope you enjoy that song, huh?
For too long, we have certain persons just taken from the country, bleeding the country, all about self at the expense of the country.
The United Progressive Party will be exploring the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Fokole Resource Center, 7 p.m.
We are calling on all Dominicans, those of you who are whatever right you, because our country should take center stage, should be focused in our mind as to its development and further development as we move towards the future.
Help build a team that will unite.
Our vision is to build Dominica as the nature island of the Caribbean, to develop a niche, to make Dominica the food basket.
The writing is on the wall, and Dominicans we must attend to our business. It is high time, it is past time, and so Dominicans, now is the time for us to put those little petty, negative, trivialities things aside. And let us focus on country, and by all stretch of the imagination, we really realize our goals.
Fokole Resource Center, Tuesday, February 3rd. Be there, united for progress.
Global DOMC show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Chaplitz, and Pastor Randy Rodney. We will discuss politics and society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. Here are a few issues and questions and talking points. Is there a clash between politics and the gospel? Does the church in Dominica play any role in preserving democracy? Should pastors and priests be involved in politics? Are some political leaders preying on religion, or are these leaders preying on the poor? Is religion being used as an opium of the people or as an oppressor of the people? Have religious events been poisoned by the lust for power and money? Have politicians pivoted to scripture and religious ceremonies to influence and pacify voters? Is there an exchange between government and churches in shaping the moral fiber of the nation? Have politicians and government hijacked religious ceremonies and festivities for political gain? Can gospel music festivals be organized by government be genuine economic drivers for Dominica? Why should a government organize a gospel festival free of charge and yet not disclose the source of the financing and the proceeds generated from the event? Is the separation of church and state a valid proposition? Does the church have a role to play in justice and peace? Can peace exist without justice? What about human rights and the dignity of human beings? So we look forward to the contributions of Justice Dr. Irving Andre, social scientist Simeon Joseph, Father Herman Sharpless, Pastor Randy Rodney, and the callers and viewers on the radio, on Facebook and on YouTube, on our topic, Politics and Society, the abuse of religion in Dominica. So join us for more Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the Global View.
Life can be hard. One more wave and you capsize. You already done tired, even before the sunrise. Your boss at your work pushing you like wheelbarrow. Your house of rain in the dry season, your pressure out to blow. So if your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix it, change it. If your roof leaking and your house flooding, fix it, change it. Never get comfortable, so you living better than your neighbor. For life have a way to surprise and humble you later. If your house condition have you living under pressure, then you must fix it or change it. Yeah, man. Yes, man. It's getting real. You're working hard as a husband and a father. But your home content out there with a gym instructor. You patching home, you patching home, she patching her pleasure. Boy, keep your head up, don't try to make up, she go deal with karma. So, if your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix it, change it. If your roof leaking, water creeping, fix it, change it. Never get comfortable, say you living better than your neighbor. Cause life have a way to surprise and humble you later. If your house condition have you living under pressure, then you must fix it or change it. The truth, you can't keep a good man down. Yeah, okay. You're working hard, but still people grumbling. Some say the red house have cracks and may need attending. Sometimes it's good, sometimes the house have a little swelling. But the too tough, cause they need shelter from building. So, if your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix it, change it. If your roof leaking and your house flooding, fix it, change it. Never get comfortable, say you living better than your neighbor. But life have a way to surprise and humble you later. If your house condition have you living under pressure, then you must fix it or change it. Just Mama. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You want to bad, 25 years and counting. Using the same blue galvanized, every 5 years it's rusting. I tell you, fix your foundation, consult with planning. Strategize instead of back talk, another man building. So, if your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix it, change it. If your roof leaking and your house flooding, fix it, change it. Never get comfortable, say you living better than your neighbor. But life have a way to surprise and humble you later. If your house condition have you living under pressure, then you must fix it, run it, or change it. Yes, man. Fix your house. Yeah. 2026. Don't stay on the water, boy. Fix it. Daddy, check it out.
You got to be a millionaire or some kind of petty bourgeoisie anytime you live in here. In this country, you got to be in skullduggery, making your money illicitly to live like somebody. In this country, it's outrageous. I say, them crazy prices in Port of Spain, and like the motion going down the drain, and the working man like the only idea in vain. When you ever hear what they done, what they got for the fisherman? A pair of sneakers, $200, 80, 90,000 for motor cars. At last, yeah, bring that. We see capitalism one man. It's sad and getting more bad because to do capitalism one man. To provide for your family, to pay on your present salary is an impossibility. In this country, so many bills to pay, there is no conceivable way to save for a rainy day. In in this country. Abortion, to be precise, is why every damn thing so overpriced. Big business making everybody feel. Government being I open license to steal. Would you believe me? What? It's 1990 when things are like for the cheapest jersey cost over 60, 200 and change a yard. But still, it's hard. Bring that. Lord have mercy, capitalism. One man. It's time. Things getting more bad. Oh Lord, capitalism. One man.
This is for Radio.
To buy a pack of cigarettes, to leave you with a hole in your wallet. Money is so hard to get. In this country, necessity or luxuries. It doesn't matter what the item is. You charge anything that please. In this country, primary school book price is low. It's highway robbery to the price of food. All hopes and dreams include the woman. But for every chance, still expect good work attitude. Just imagine this. Keep it up. Over the road. Not even time to take. Thousands of dollars for the undertaker. So you could get a spot in the cemetery. It's hard, yeah, and pretty bad. Oh Lord, capitalism, one man. The glass that once we had is gone because capitalism, one man. You got to have heavy concept, know how to move up in society to make any kind of impact. In this country, you got to know how to chip the seal, how to scheme and swindle properly, perfect the art of wheel and seal. In this country, as they survive in this land, isn't easy for no man. With unemployment and high inflation, somebody go dead before the end of this recession. Away the hell is this time? Have your salary. Wow. It's me that poetry. Time your back brings all your money down. It's hard to bring it down. Lord have mercy. It's sad, I'm getting over. It's a hard, one man.
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. The way
we got take control in the end. Why the other countries scoring more than we? They want to be attacked. I was just like Margaret. And you know we don't like that. Kind of hardship. Under this leadership, we cannot talk anymore. Somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's in for too long, but making no talk. Somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's in for too long, but making no talk. All we do is choking, making noise, making nothing. The man that's in for too long, but making no talk. See that. Mark my words, mark my words, mark my words, mark my words. The batsmen that we have better than them. Oh yeah, see the have a see when this year, we getting a go be the same, no more again. Why the only in stress? Take she out of the darkness. She needs some happiness. People choose a new thing to represent them again. Somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no song. So somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no song. All we do is choking, making noise, making nothing. The man that's in for too long, but making no song. See pull the out, pull the man out. We are run out, get some bombs of gold out. Let the man out. Oh yeah, it's a couple they need to play. If Laura time expire, you got to go brother retire. You won't get the playing smart. Why you pocket getting fat? Or you beating up with back? Oh, right now, we got this new ball, it's time to get you out. Somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no song. Somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no song. everybody do cocaine, cocaine, making noise, making nothing. The man battling for too long, but making no song. See that, see that.